You guys, I'm super excited about this video. We're gonna be taking a look at this Venge RC comp build that Brandon put together for me. I've been talking to him. He's local here. He comps up at Reaction, and we first started seeing him at one of the Gauntlet events at the mini comp, and then just like, what is going on with this guy's builds? And then through talking with him, find out that he made it all and was doing all this custom stuff. His brain works in a way that mine doesn't, and I wish it did work. It's absolutely stunning to see how he kind of thinks through things and how he kind of just, you know, problem solves. That's basically what he's doing. There's some problem solving that went on with this we're gonna talk about because it's super, super cool. But I wanted to just show you guys this build that he put together for me, talk about some of his components, what we did to, you know, finish this out, some of the other parts on it, but it's absolutely killer. Starting with his comp square body here, there's different options that he has for this. You'd have to look at his Etsy store. You can get cab only, you can get it with the bed, you can get it with like a different style bed than this, but it's tucked to be comp and it's sick. This one he painted up special for me in order to have like my green and black kind of paint scheme. So he has like an undercolor that he's either sanded away or maybe he's brushed it on. I think it looks like he's painted it and then painted it again and then sanded it down. But he kind of dented it. He put some cool rust features on here in the bed and pitting around like the wheel wells, and he did it with real rust. It's insane the way that he creates. This is absolutely a stunning truck. That's all I'm going to say. So starting there on the outside, the body is something that he sells. They're on Etsy. You can't really tell that it's 3D printed. It's absolutely fantastic. The print on this, the quality is next level, just like everything that Brandon does. So Venge RC, you're going to want to write down that name, V.eng RC. Sliding underneath here, we can get a look at his chassis. This is the Gatekeeper version 2. And this is aluminum. He has a carbon fiber one. He now has the cutting capabilities to really cut stuff and do some awesome stuff. But I'm running the Lizard Pro on here. I'm probably going to put the Micro Python on here because of just make it tuck in here a little nicer. It fits in here just fine. In fact, that actually kind of weighs out the battery pretty well, so maybe I won't. But we got the Lizard Pro in here. And then he sells a mount, which you're not going to be able to see in this video. You're just going to have to take my word for it. That mounts to the transmission and centers up the Micro Komodo motor. So it's nice and centered in here because of this carbon fiber mount that he has that just keeps it tight so it doesn't get in the way of your servo. It's genius. Again, thinking through things. You can see how his skid plates, he's got different skid options and all that. But it also becomes a point that you have for putting electronics. So he's got above that another little riser that screws in here and it can actually slide along these rails. But then there's these slither links. I'm gonna have to do some of this stuff just using his pictures from Etsy because when it's all built in here, it's a little hard to see how tucked up these get. It's insane how much clearance you get with these links and the whole setup that he's got on it. It is running ingenious axles, and he's got this little slider that goes on the axle and helps slide over rocks instead of catching on the ingenious axles, which is killer. The wheels, he made these wheels, they're 3D printed, they're black, which is what I like. I like blacked out wheels like this. And in the front, the offset is different. On the rear, you can actually see, I'm gonna try and show you here how much it sticks out, this part here, because he's actually got it so it's outside of the wheel is where the nut mounts, so that it tucks it really tight on these long ingenious axles and brings your wheels back in. So your bolts stick out a little bit further than everything else than your tires. So you still have to watch for those bolts that stick through, but it really clears these up for getting through the gates. The furthest thing sticking out now is that little stub from the axle. It's pretty crazy how he's got it tucked on here in order to bring these wheels in and keep it running nice and tight. But I mean, he's just always thinking. I'm running hard park shocks on here. They're just for a really cool kind of setup that they've got for their shocks. Again, hard to see, but they're not fully, they're a little bit shorter travel. They're a long shock, but they've got these spacers on them, which is pretty cool. Lots of mounting options for the shocks on these, and he's got them tucked pretty well in on the rear, but on the front it's more up and down. And the reason is, look at the steering angle on this. It is absolutely insane. So, and it's not touching the body. It's not rubbing the slider here. It does, if you really push it, you can make it hit the links. But even those are in. I mean, you're just getting crazy amounts of steering. I'm absolutely blown away by how crazy the steering is on this thing. So he's just up to the game on it. All the stuff that he's put into this, that he's created, from the links to the chassis, and he's got carrier bearings now and a whole bunch of different things that he's doing to really up the crawling mini game, especially in the comp world. It's absolutely unreal. You have to check out his Etsy. I've got it here, all kinds of stuff on here. There's that motor mount right there that I was talking about. That's in here. And yeah, all different kinds of caged vehicles and chassis and the carrier bearings, wheel sets. But he's just getting started, and I can't even imagine where he's going to take it all, because his stuff is absolutely fantastic. So thank you, Brandon, for putting this together for me. I've got some comp footage from it from the night I got it. I dropped in my receiver, and that he had it literally ready to go. Dropped in my receiver, bound it up, and went out and comped with it. Did pretty good. The one thing I'm not used to having is springs on my shocks. So when I did get up like this, it did offload and crash me over to a point where I had to hand of God it. But that's because I'm not used to running shocks. So I'm not used to the unloading that happened because of the shocks and just kind of steep incline. I just need to think through my lines a little better, because I do like having the shocks now in some other situations. I just find that, you know, side hilling and certain things, it does help. But it is something I just have to get used to. But awesome build. And also, guys, he's just a cool dude. So that's always a good thing when you know that the people that you're getting stuff from are just cool dudes. He's a good dude. He's a cool dude. And I really appreciate him putting this together for me. So let's get this out. We're going to run it some more. I didn't watch the angle for this one.
I turned far up here and
Did you?
I could have made it had I reached it, but I tried to drive it through and didn't make it. This line could still work. You just gotta keep the rear end in place.
Yeah.
You start turning up now. There you go.
Are you going next?
No, you can go first.
Loading weird, huh? Good for your photo, though.
I'm videoing. You're going like a snail.
That's how I do. That's why I impose time limits. I know from my own driving. Man, it feels like coming down this would be the best, but I saw everybody else didn't do that. And I'm just gonna follow everybody else.
This is what got me, so be careful. I got up here, and I turned it down, and it just suddenly flipped. So I don't know if that's just my new suspension or if something with the angle.
I'm already leaning.
Yeah, I got
Let's just winch it through here.
All right.
I think, well, let me see.
I actually think unless it goes from 0 to 100, you're good.
When that back tire drops,
yeah, it looks like it's fairly well planted because the rear tire is pretty much on the ground now. As long as it doesn't slide here.
let's just give it a little tension, maybe.
Just don't want to pull the front and rotate the back.
Let that out a little.
Off?
Yeah, probably gonna have to be off.
If anything, the angle I took is better. It's pretty much the same approach angle, except mine had me facing the rear end at the other way.
Now I gotta drop down, huh?
This is what got me. I don't know how you're supposed to make this corner front with steer only. Oh, that's actually a good idea. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna make that.
I just tried to wiggle it down and end up fixing it.
Yeah, I think it still needs oil shocks probably with a thick oil, just so it doesn't, just to slow it down. Yeah, but it's driving great. That was a good line. Uh-oh.
First steering.
I mean, you got a class, you got two, you class two. Why do I consider me?
Hey, probably that was probably me last week, and that's why I ended up doing one for me.
There it is. All right, guys, so there it is, the Venge RC Gatekeeper version 2 with Venge RC hard body on here, Furatech stuff, all the stuff that we showed you before. We're done running it now. What do we think about it? So I've had a couple weeks now of running this to kind of get it a little bit more dialed in, because when I gave it to him, all the parts and stuff, and he assembled it for me, Brandon at Venge RC, he kind of just put the shocks on that I gave him and the electronics and everything that I gave him as well, and then he put his parts around it. So the custom wheels, absolutely fantastic. Narrows it right up, get right through the gates. Can't say anything but good things about them. They've held the bead. And then I'm running these J Concepts megalithics, which I've never run yet on this scale, and I really dig them. So they're doing pretty good. It's not my normal thing with the scramblers. I still want to get a set on here and just see how it does differently. But yeah, I'm kind of curious what exactly the difference would be. So it's running the Mias axles, which are great, make it wider, but he's tucked it with the wheels and everything on it. And some of the breakover and stuff that I'm getting now is so fantastic. I'm not getting hung up on the chassis nearly as much. The biggest thing that I had to fight was suspension. So I've got the hard park shocks on here because Brian Kochner had put some on the build that he did for me, and I loved them. I thought they were so cool. I got some more when we were at the Gauntlet. They had some for sale there, and picked them up. And with the hard body, I wasn't loving it as much. So I ended up removing the springs. They were just unloading, and it's still unloading a little bit. So I just bought some oil-filled shocks. I'm actually going to swap out with these. I'm going to put thick oil in it so that it'll still drop out, but it won't be as fast. So it'll give me time to make corrections, because the problem is right now it just goes and just immediately drops. You can see how loose these are. So I'm just going to put really thick oil in it, and I think that should get me even closer dialed in to where I need to be. So it's been different for me getting used to driving a hard body. That's why I think one of the biggest differences. If you were to change out the body on this, I think a lot would handle differently, because you wouldn't have that extra weight up there, which is, I think, also helping it want to do some of the rolling and the stuff that I'm not feeling or seeing with the other stuff. I've been okay with outrunning springs on my shocks or oil-filled shocks before, but because the body wasn't so heavy that it would actually want to break away from and lift. So that's taken a little bit of getting used to, but my buddy came, Andy, and had never done the comp with us before. I let him run this, and he took second place. He got like a 4. I think I had a 24 running the Brian Kochner build, which did amazing, and would have actually been, I think he had a 6, because I would have had a 4. I think I would have beat him. I had one gate, and I was teaching Andy, and he was winching me, and whatever, it flipped the truck, hit the gate, and landed upside down. And so I got 20 points right there on one gate. But that build is running really good right now as well. I took off the things that were holding the shocks down, which allowed it to get a little more belly clearance. And that was the biggest issue I was having with that. It was rubbing on things. Well, now sitting a little higher, it's actually running really good. And I don't need that one to sit in that full droop. And it's been handling awesome. So, but anyway, back to this thing. Venge RC, you guys, these things are killer, and they are the most tricked out chassis, links, and stuff you can pretty much get right now for these things. Brandon's just innovating so many cool new things, and it's awesome to see what he's coming up with week after week. He shows up with new things. So big shout out to him. It's a local guy here in West Michigan, and he's putting out really, really killer products. You guys, you should definitely check it out on his Etsy page. I'll have a link for you down in the description below. The body also, 3D printed, fantastic. It's taken some hits and is doing pretty well, considering how heavy everything is underneath it when it is rolling. I am definitely taking it easy on it because these pillars here could definitely be a snap point if you're not careful. But in that case, I'd probably just glue it back on and keep running. So, but overall, this is like my new go-to truck, and I'm just working on getting it dialed in. Looks fantastic. Drives absolutely fantastic. I am going to try out some scramblers on it just because. Got to try it and make sure that, you know, I'm not missing out on anything. But overall, very, very pleased with his products and what he's put together here. And you guys, like I said, check them out. Venge RC. They're coming for you guys. All these crazy builds and stuff. You got to keep at it. This whole end of the hobby, the 24 scale is growing like crazy, and the tech that they're coming out with, and not even the tech, but just the designs and all the new stuff for it, it'll blow your mind. So thanks for tuning in. As always, guys, have fun RCing. We'll catch you next time.